Hi stamping friends, it's Terry Gaines. In this video I'm going to give you all the details so you can make this fun fold card. The product I'm using for this card is from Stampin' Up's January through June mini catalog. There's some product in Stampin' Up's annual catalog along with some product that's carried over from the July through December 2021 mini catalog. On my blog post, I'll have a PDF that you can download that shows you all the product that's carrying over from the mini catalog. So for the card base, you need a 7-inch by 5.5-inch cardstock. I'm using basic white, and it needs to be scored at 1 3/8 and at 5 5/8, which is actually 1 3/8 on both sides. What I did for my sample, I folded these in, so you want to do this whether you use this option that I'm going to do or use your card base, is I folded this in and I used the Timber 3D embossing folder, which is a carryover from the mini catalog, and I placed this in my folder, ran it through my die cutting machine so I could texturize the whole card base. And there are a variety of different folders that you can use. At the end of this video, I'm going to share some other samples using different folders. So the next cardstock we need is coordinating cardstock that is 2 3/4 by 5.5. We also need coordinating cardstock, and I chose the same color. This is pumpkin pie in my sample. 2 3/4 by 3 1/2. And 2 of those. One is going to be for the outside and one's going to be for the inside. There's an optional cardstock that you can use, and this is 2 5/8 by 3 3/8, and that's because I'm going to add that extra little layer in this card, and that's an optional one. And then there is 2 basic white for my color scheme, and if you could use very vanilla if you have a different color scheme. One is for the outside and one is for the inside. And then there's designer series paper, and I am using the Flowering Fields designer series paper. It is in the mini catalog. You get 2 each of 6 double-sided prints. I'm using this print right here. Absolutely beautiful designer series paper. You have these beautiful tulip fields along with many different designs for backgrounds. So it is in the mini catalog, and you get 2 each of 6 double-sided designs. So I'm going to use this print, and at the end of the video I'm going to share some samples using some of the other prints. So now what I want to do is show you how I modified some of these. For the outside piece of basic white, I actually ran that through the same embossing folder. And because I'm embellishing it with the Tulip Dies, and let me quickly show you that, it comes in a bundle. The dies you can buy separately or in a bundle with the stamp set. So I stamped all of the images in the stamp set. There are 18 of them. There are 17 dies, and some of these dies can build tulips. So these 3 dies, I built this tulip. These 2, I built this one. These 2 plus that one, I built this one. And then you can cut out some of the images. So there's such a wonderful variety of options that you have for this bundle. So what I did is I'm going to be utilizing these 3 for the tulip on the card. So because this piece is sandwiched in between here, I actually cut out the 2 die pieces that I need for that. And then I also cut out of pumpkin pie what I needed for the other part of the flower. So hopefully all that made sense. So let's start our assembly. So we've got our base pieces that we need. So the first thing we want to do is take this designer series paper. Now keep it in mind that all 3 of these pieces are cut at 5.5 inches. And sometimes when I cut my paper, I don't always get them exact. So, so I would trim it. So let me just, so I have a way that I assemble them. So if I need to trim it after I assemble, I can do that. So what I want to do is take this strip of paper and adhere it right to the center of this. I like to use my Simply Scoring to do that. And what I will do is look at this paper, and it is 1 1/4. This is 2 3/4. So this gap is 1 1/2. If I divide that in half, that means I want to put this at 3/4 inch here and 3/4 inch here. So that's right in the middle. So what I'm going to do is actually put this upside down and when I assemble it. My tulips are directional, but if I had a non-directional designer series paper, I wouldn't worry about that. So I'm going to push this all the way up to the edge, place this right at 3/4 inch, and then I have that in the center. Now the next part of the instructions tell us that we're going to place this right in the middle here with equal spacing, so it only adhere it to this side, or actually it's adhered to this side, to the left side. So what I'm going to do is turn it upside down. That way I can push everything up to this edge, and what I can do is place this in here, look for equal spacing. This is the edge I want to adhere it to, so I'm going to open it up and put a strip of adhesive right on the edge. This cardstock is cut enough that if you put your standard adhesive here, you will adhere it to the right spot. And our goal is not to have any exposed adhesive here. So just keep that in mind with your adhesive choice. Now by pushing this all up to this edge, if my paper wasn't cut even, I could take this to the trimmer and cut that even. So that's why I turned that upside down. So now we have that portion. On the inside, we are going to adhere the inside sentiment piece. You can stamp your inside sentiment first. I'm going to go ahead and just assemble it. So I'm watching opposite corners to get equal spacing on all 4 edges. And then I'm going to adhere this to the inside. Just a tip that I really want this to be hidden behind this panel. I don't want it to stick out at all. So what I'm going to do, if you center it, equal spacing here, equal spacing here, it should cover that up. It should be right on the edge. So I just might push it over to the left a hair just to confirm that I don't see it here. Now what we want to do is create the top panel. The top panel is with these 3 pieces, and as I mentioned, this piece is an optional layer that's listed on the measurements. So what I want to do is go opposite corners. Nobody's going to even know that part of that tulip was cut out of that paper. Great way to maximize your cardstock. And then this is going to go opposite corners. And this just has a 1/16 of an inch border on all those edges. Now this is going to be adhered to this panel. Our goal is not to have any exposed adhesive here, so I would highly suggest to use tear and tape. It's not very wide, and just put it right towards the edge, and then you can tear it here. So that's going to be the adhesive of my choice to put this together. And I'm actually done with the Simply Scoring tool, so I can move that out of the way and put it on the shelf over there. So, so by having the adhesive here, I am fairly confident that I will not have any exposed adhesive by the width of this. And it should adhere just to this side panel. So I'm going to hold this up, look for equal spacing on top and bottom, equal spacing on the side. And you can tell my overlay is about 5/8 of an inch, so plenty of space to not have exposed adhesive. So that's the card, that's the fun fold, and now it's how you want to embellish the card. As I mentioned, I am going to use the Tulip Dies, or maybe I didn't mention that, but I mentioned I cut that out. Also what I did was out of the evening evergreen cardstock, I cut a stem, the leaves, and then this is out of the pumpkin pie. So how I'm going to assemble this is I put some of the adhesive sheets. Stampin' Up sells these in their annual catalog. They're 6 by 12. You get 12 sheets in here. You put it on the back of your cardstock before you die cut it, and it works perfect for this little stem because the stem is so narrow. It's a great way to get adhesive on here. So I'm going to place this so it goes kind of straight up here. It's longer than I need. So I'm going to trim that off. Oops. And now what I'm going to do is build the flower. So this cuts and scores right where you want to score that. So that's created our main base. This piece is going to be tucked under here. So what I want to do first is just give a little bit of dimension to this. And I grabbed a bone folder that's pretty well stained up. I'm just going to curve that a little bit, and I'm going to take some dimensionals. I'm going to place one regular dimensional right here to adhere that. When I first played around with this, I started using mini glue dots, but I find that the dimensionals are pretty strong, or really strong, and they really, I like the results for the dimensionals. So what I also want to do is just maybe take and just curl the little tips of these a little bit. I'm going to do that on this one too, and this one. And the beauty of these tulips, you can really create them in multiple different ways. It's just great to play with and decide what is your favorite way to create these. So I got one dimensional behind that. I'm going to put a dimensional behind this piece, and I am going to curve that down a little bit too. And then I'm going to cut my dimensional sheet and just take a portion of one right here and add that down here. So I really have 1.5 on here. So how I'm going to build this, as I mentioned, this piece is going to go inside. So I'm going to do that one first. I'll take the backing off and place this right here, like so. Then I'm going to take a dimensional and place that right here. So what you build by using all these dimensionals is you do build a 3D looking tulip. Now that's closed this piece. Now this piece I'm going to put right on top. So I'm going to take the backings off and place this right here. Now I've built that tulip. Now when I put it on here, you could add dimensionals in the back. That is a really good option, but I don't want to add that additional dimension to it. So I'm going to use the tear and tape and take your pick tool off, and then I'm going to place my tulip right like so. Now what I'm going to do for the leaves, you can really put these whatever direction you want them to be. I'm going to choose that this be the top. I'm going to take my bone folder and curve that a little bit. I'm going to put this one on the top. For this, I'm going to grab some mini dimensionals, and I'm going to put the small one on first. Goodness, my videos are unedited and they always contain bloopers, so I do apologize for that. But if I was showing you this in person, it would be just what was happening then too. So bear with me on all of that. So for both of these, towards the bottom, I'm going to put some mini glue dots or mini dimensionals. For this first one, I'm going to place it right along the stem, up a little bit, and you determine where you want to place them, how close to the flower. And for this one, I'm going to place right like so. And then on this one, the card design, I actually took a label from the Tulips Dies label in the annual catalog, and I stamped happy birthday on here ahead of time. What I'm going to do is take one dimensional on this end, one on this end, and then take the backings off. And I needed to add that dimensional because I have dimensionals behind here. And then I'm going to place the happy birthday sentiment, whoops, right like so. So you can decide, maybe I'll put it right here. So each time you make these, you can change it up a little bit and create a beautiful card. I have this as a happy birthday card, but it could be for many different occasions. I mentioned I was going to show some additional samples. This is another piece of that designer series paper, another design, and this is the brick and mortar embossing folder. This one is another piece, some different colors. I added a ribbon here, and this is the time-worn type that is a carryover from the mini catalog. And then in this sample is some different product. This is from the mini catalog on page 59. It is the Blessings of Home bundle, and then the Heart and Home Designer Series paper, which is another beautiful suite of product from Stampin' Up. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and happy creating by making some of these fun fold cards. I would love to have you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Click the red box under the video, then select the red bell to be notified when I upload new videos. In the comments section of the video, there's a direct link to my blog post where you can find the measurements and all the supplies I use for this project. Thanks for stopping by. Take care and happy creating.